think it spells dyslexia, but it doesn't. Dyslexia is a commonly known learning disorder, and it doesn't get enough acknowledgement in our public school system. At least, it didn't for me. For as long as I can remember, I spelled dyslexia like this, and then when I was told I was wrong, I spelled it like that. I think that's the way it's spelled. Is it? No, I was told it was actually spelled like this. I got confused again. And it's basically just because I can't recognize that that word is dyslexia. In my mind, it doesn't connect. And it's hard to describe why that is. My word doesn't associate words to their pronunciations, to their spelling when I read them. It's like a fish trying to swim outside of water. It just doesn't really work. And I was told that I had dyslexia when I was in 7th grade. And for a 7th grader, they didn't teach me the fundamentals again of how to read with my dyslexia. They basically just taught me how to avoid it, how to avoid words that I don't understand, how to avoid words that I couldn't spell, just how to simplify them. And that's where the underlying problem is. Public schools should have specialized reading and writing classes for dyslexic students, and I'm going to tell you why. First, it's important to understand what dyslexia is. The International Dyslexia Association published in Cox newspaper in 2019 that dyslexia is a neurological condition basically just caused by different wiring. And it's most characterized as a learning disorder characterized by difficulty reading. And as of 2018, the Mayo Clinic has reported that 3 million people in the United States have dyslexia. That's the equivalent to the entirety of Chicago. It's not a small population. But if I run into another dyslexic person, we're not going to have the same type of dyslexia. Every dyslexia is different. Mine is listening and saying, associating what's read to how you say it, while others might be visual as thinking. When they look at the words, they get the letters mixed up, or the words will pop off the page for them. Most of that one is you can take medication for that helps your brain lower its intensity when you read. But while there are many different forms of it, they're all the same underlying symptoms. When you're a toddler, you'll be a late talker and you won't be able to remember letters. When you're in school, you'll be below your grade level. Now, I was in 7th grade, I read at a 4th grade reading level, and now I only read at an 8th grade reading level. And when you're an adult, you'll have trouble mispronouncing words, and you'll misspell, and you'll just have general difficulty reading. But even with all of this, as you get older, it's harder to treat. And that's why it's important to catch it younger and have these specialized classes in order to build that fundamentals in the language first. So how do we know that these classes really would work? For this, I turned to the real-life story of Violetta Vola, which was published in Don Johnston's Institutional News in 2020 called New York Schools Focus on Dyslexia. So Violetta, she was in elementary school when she was told she has dyslexia, and she went to a public school. And then her mom transferred her to a private school called Bridge Preparatory Charter School. And this school specialized in dyslexic classes. When she was at that school, she went from being 3 years below her grade level to being 1 year below her grade level. For a dyslexic student, that's a huge improvement. And this school saw that overall throughout all their students. But this type of improvement shouldn't just be specified for private schools because some people can't afford them. And it's not the only example of this type of improvement. The University of Northern Colorado graduate school study published in a book called Priming Efforts on Word Recognition in 2015 by C.T. Johnson that showed that children ages 7 to 16 showed huge improvement in word recognition and reading when exposed to the teaching styles called picture priming. So this is picture priming. It's basically associating the words with a picture. It's something you do in elementary school. But if you have dyslexia, it's really something that should be done throughout your entire education. And for the students that they showed huge recognition because for dyslexic students, it's hard to associate words whenever you see them. So the pictures really, really help. So that way, when I read it there and I see it somewhere else, I can associate the picture and I know what it is. That disconnect won't be there anymore. And it's a huge improvement. So if those improvements are being seen, what are our public schools doing about them? Sam Cosby, the director of McCain Institution, published a statement in 2016 in the Gale database that said that schools are having a hard time implementing them because of the stigma around students being dumb, not dyslexic, or lazy, and then the sole fact that teachers are not paid enough to have these type of programs in their schools. But even with this, only 4 states don't have dyslexic registration. They're, as seen by Downey M's article in Take Shame and Shadow Away from Dyslexia in 2019, multiple bills are being proposed in order to screen for it in kindergarten. This means that kindergarten students would be given tests so that way they can see if they have it. And that way they can go at a slow, patient rate of learning fundamentals before they have to move on to upper schooling. So why does this type of schooling really matter to you? Because if you have dyslexia, you probably already know it. So what does it really matter? Well, you might have a kid one day, and as my mom says, watching a child struggle with something as simple task like reading and not knowing how to help is a really terrible feeling. So if we can get our school systems to really help improve those type of fundamentals, it could be a huge thing and people won't feel left behind. Dyslexia is a learning disorder that's really treatable. And as Anya Kulrachevich once said, if you're not giving these fundamental skills, we're setting them up for failure. And that whole term in general should just be why public school systems should have these specialized reading and writing classes for dyslexic students. And for you guys, there are petitions. I really like petitions online. I think they're a great effort. And there's a bunch out there for screening for dyslexic students in elementary school and also for classes that focus on learning disabilities in general, especially related to tests also. Because at the end of the day, everyone should get the chance to enjoy reading.